Welcome and thank you for joining me for one of the first ESA news videos. I'm Daniel Dunn, the ESA founder, and it's a huge honor and excitement to bring these videos and share all this information with you because right now in the world we can either create the best we've ever seen or see it go back to the worst we've ever seen. There's a video about the ESA and what it's about that's really cool that you can watch. I'll make another one of those too. This video is about the Black Lives Matter movement, and especially, of course, the good that we can create with that and the bad that is being pushed really, really hard by some very powerful people. That is what has inspired me to make these videos, especially this video today. So again, trying to condense about an hour's worth of material into just a few minutes because I respect your time and it's very important, especially if we just get straight to it. So let's do just that. Long story short, and I'm sure everybody knows this, but we cannot emphasize it enough. We absolutely have to know this. Very powerful controlling powers have been and still are manipulating people to get you to create your own slavery. That's what they want, and that's what they've been doing, and that's what they're still doing now. So with Black Lives Matter, it's strange not that many people actually know really about what's going on with Black Lives Matter and how it's being manipulated, and let me go into that really quick here. So like a lot of people know, the Black Lives Matter movement started from 2012 from very genuine need from the community for police reform and police oversight and everything because of how horrible the problem with police really is. Trust me, I'm why I got beat up twice by the police, didn't really say anything about it because what's going to happen with that. But that's a huge problem. We desperately need that addressed. We definitely need reform and all that. But with that, the Democrats primarily are moving in and trying to stop people from getting the reform that they need, and instead are pushing socialism on people. Socialism is not freedom. Socialism is not liberty. It's tyranny, absolutely, and they're not telling you that, but that's what they want. So please listen to what I'm saying here. Do research on your own. There's extremely important that you know this. So please search a video from Prager University called The Inconvenient Truth About Democrats. You'll see a wonderful lady go into detail about how criminal the Democrats were and still are, and how they were the ones pushing for slavery in America, African slavery. Let me go a little bit deeper into that and give you some backdrop on why the manipulation is so heavy and intense right now to manipulate people and get you to push for your own slavery. Okay, this might sound strange, but white people for the most part and black people for the most part have been enslaved and manipulated by the same people. A little bit of background about that really, really fast. You can talk for months about this, literally. So the heart and soul of where slavery and criminality comes from is actually Rome in Europe. And they were connected over time to Spain. And anybody that knows anything about Europe and those two countries would know that those people are not white people. They're actually darker skinned people, especially in the older time in Italy, and they for the very longest time were preying on people in Europe. And as time progressed, the UK, with all due respect, was corrupted as well. So Rome, Spain, and the UK were all working together to enslave the vast majority of people. So the existentialist movement and the Enlightenment movement was born, and all these people had this ideal of freedom and liberty and equality instead of slavery that was born in Europe from fighting against these powers. So from that, massive populations from Europe, they were not all white people, came to America to find a new land away from all this tyranny and slavery and all this horrible criminal horrificness, this deplorable depravity. So people came over here and created the US Constitution. It was a good people who did this escaping slavery that created the Constitution, and it is to ensure freedom against tyranny. The tyrannists don't want people to know that. They want you to fight against the Constitution and turn against that. So let me go on and tell you that the same people who were responsible for white people exodusing Europe to come over to America are the same people who orchestrated African slavery and brought Africans from Africa over to America as well. And the people who did this do not want you to know that the white people are not responsible for slavery. They don't want you to look at them and know that they're the ones who are guilty of it. They don't want you to see them for what they really are. It's like the Wizard of Oz. They want you to look away from them and not know who they are. But long story short, let's get back to what's really, really important. So here in America, right now, in the modern world, we have a very genuine need to continue fighting against tyranny and make sure that we have police oversight and accountability and so forth. But we not only need that with police, we need that with everyone. But the Democrats primarily and the power elite that be are going to try and stop that from happening and institute socialism instead to try and enslave everybody. Let me give you a really quick example of that really quick before I go on to some more history that'll help illuminate this as well. Again, thank you for bearing with me. This is a lot, but it's super important that you know this, so thank you so much for listening. So you may not know this if you're a little bit older or if you're a young person, but the Occupy movement was born from a very genuine need, just like Black Lives Matter was, for economic equality. And again, it was economic equality, not socialism, is when this started. But people were in a nationwide uproar, just like Black Lives Matter, for economic equality. And then the Democrats come in and tell people, oh, well, you need socialism. Don't worry about what you're pushing for. Just let us handle it. Let's have socialism. So instead of getting economic equality after a nationwide protest very similar to Black Lives Matter, there was no economic equality that was gained from it, but there was a push for socialism. That's what the power elite wanted, not the people. The same thing is happening now with Black Lives Matter. We have, I think it was 2 days ago, President Trump signed an executive order banning a lot of police brutality. The Democrats are harshly against that, saying, no, that's not the right thing. So Senator Tim Scott, if you're racist or care about skin color, he's black. He's pushing right now for very sincere legislation to get exactly what Black Lives Matter needs, which is police reform, oversight, transparency, accountability, to have equal justice under the law. And you guessed it, the Democrats are saying no. That's not enough. What we need is socialism, just like they did with Occupy. So what they're trying to do is to get people to overshoot what you actually need, what we actually need, to have police oversight and accountability. Instead, they're going to try and go for socialism, with all due respect, which is not freedom. It's not liberty. It's not what you think it is. It's everything comes in a brown box and the state controls everything and you have no freedom. That's what it is. It's not what you think it is. So you're being lied to. So let me give you a little bit more information as to what's going on that they don't want you to know about as well. That will greatly illuminate what's happening now also. So after the black people were from Africa in America, and after white people exodused Europe and came over here for freedom, and everyone's over here, and the Democrats with the power elite, and let me emphasize this here when I'm going into this, it was the power elite that owned or controlled slaves, not the vast majority. And here is the statistics to prove that. Okay, in the height of the slave trade in the South, where it was most concentrated in the states of Mississippi and Alabama, okay, the most concentrated states at the height of the slave trade, 35% of the population owned or controlled slaves. The height of the slave trade in the most concentrated areas. The vast majority of people did not own slaves, and you can practically guarantee that they condemned the abuse of slaves by the people who had them. And this is the most concentrated at 35%. Okay, think about the rest of the South, even when it was not in the height of the slave trade. the vast majority of people did not own slaves and condemned slavery. And this is in the South, mind you. Hey, the Democrats don't want you to know that. The people who are actually orchestrating the slave trade, who brought the Africans over here, who were enslaving them, want you to look away from them and think that they're your loving keeper, when that's not true. They're trying to be the parasitical master. They're doing a very good job. So they're trying to put whites and blacks at odds with each other, so we're not looking at the hand that's manipulating and enslaving everybody. They're doing a really good job of it. So again, in the South during the slave trade, the majority of people were not slave owners. The majority of people were not hostile towards Africans. They were pushing people to be, and they were doing a good job, but it failed ultimately because people weren't racist. They're trying now in the modern world to make that happen again, but they're trying to get black people to hate white people, to have that same hatred and division, so they can keep enslaving people and taking control and having us be the victims. And again, I'm making this video so you know that, so we can stop that from happening. That should not happen. And let me give you a little bit of a background more into this as well too. Like who I am. I was raised, or not raised, but primarily influenced as a person by my grandfather, who were from Irish descent. We were not treated well when we got here to America. But my grandfather was a World War II veteran who helped defeat the Nazis in Nazi Germany. He comes over back to Texas, Corpus Christi, Texas, and has a bricklaying business after the war. He didn't care about skin color, nor do I, nor should anybody else for that matter, like Dr. King says. So he employed a few black people. He didn't care about their skin color. It wasn't because they were black, it was because they were cool people. And this was during a time when it was not cool to help out black people, and he did it anyway. I mean, he'd come right back from the war, from World War II. So I was raised with that mentality, and I was raised around people from all different kinds of colors. And even recently, I got heartbroken because I couldn't get with a girl who I wanted to be with, who was half white and half black and Puerto Rican. I'm definitely not racist, but I have a cool haircut because I live in the South where it's really, really hot, and plus it's cool. And people attack me all the time like I'm the heart and soul of where racism and criminality comes from, when it couldn't be further from the truth. And it's happening because the Democrats are trying to rile people with hatred so they can push socialism and stop people from getting what they want. And that's why I'm making this video today, to tell you that and emphasize these points. So again, this is a lot of information. This is several hours of information on just a few short minutes, hopefully. But again, please critically think about what's going on. Rewatch the video. I'm going to jam-pack these videos with so much information. You can watch them several times and keep getting more information. It's so valuable. But long story short, no matter what color you are, stand by Senator Tim Scott. No matter what political gang rag you have in your pocket, stand by Senator Tim Scott on pushing forward the legislation that we need to have what we need. And don't let the Democrats stop that from happening and say you don't need that, and push for socialism, because that's what they want. So you know what's going on. We'll talk more about this. This is just the first video about that, but please understand what I'm talking about. Don't let them divide people. Don't let them stir hatred like they did before. I'll put a link to that video actually, so you don't have to search it. The Inconvenient Truth About Democrats also, but of course do your own research. Also go to esanow.org. There's videos on the right. One of them is the secret files of the Inquisition. That'll show you so much more about what was going on then. And then if you look at what happened also, you can see what I'm talking about and see how it all came together. But long story short, like anybody knows, before all this happened, 99% of everyone has no problem with race whatsoever. There might be one person out of 100 that's a dirtbag that wants to try and start trouble. No matter what, we all ought to be aware that there is one person out of 100, if that, 1% of the population that's going to try and start problems for everybody else. So let's not let the 99% of everybody who's cool be manipulated like an elephant by a mouse by these tiny minority pieces of shit, with all due respect, that want to try and screw everything up for everybody else. So let's do like I say with the ESA. Let's look at our common needs and what will commonly benefit all of us, so we can meet on common ground and we together can create what will bring the most bounty and benefit to all of us, ourselves, and we will have the most freedom and strength and everything with that. So thank you so much again for bearing with me. These are really fun to bring this to you so much. It's really exciting to be here with you doing this. So let's achieve the most. Let's stop the bad from happening. Let me know what you think. I love comments, feedback, anything you can do to help support, like and share the videos, of course. So thank you so much again for being part of one of the first ESA news videos. It's a pleasure and an honor. Let me know what you think. Like, share, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much.